really pleased today to be joined by Charles Hoskinson. Charles has been running the Bitcoin Education Project for about a month now, and he's got some pretty exciting announcements to make. So, Charles, why don't you explain what we're talking about here?
The Bitcoin Education Project is something we started about a month ago, and its flagship product was a Udemy course named Bitcoin or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Crypto. And after I launched it, I realized there was a lot of people in the community who really enjoy teaching about Bitcoin, and they want to contribute maybe a small piece of content or do a lecture series. And so I said, gosh, it'd be a really nice thing to do to aggregate all of them into a central project. And so that's what the Bitcoin Education Project is all about. So over the last few weeks, what I've been doing is building the website, talking to people, recruiting fellows, and I'm pleased to announce today our official relaunch to public on Let's Talk Bitcoin for the Bitcoin Education Project. Our goal is to build peer-reviewed, free content for public release, both commercial and for personal use, with the end goal of using this content to bring 1 million active, engaged users into the Bitcoin ecosystem.
That's a pretty ambitious goal there.
Right, yeah, and by the end of 2014, I should say. How we're going to accomplish this is first using our flagship course, the Bitcoin course I just mentioned, and then two other courses that we're building over the summer. So one class is going to be Bitcoin for computer scientists, and that course is going to be specifically for graduate level professionals. So people who are in a master's program or a PhD program, or somebody who's in industry with 3 or 4 years of experience in peer-to-peer networks and cryptography. The goal there is to actually annotate the entire Satoshi protocol. So we're going to, just kind of like what Charles Petzel did with the annotated Turing, we're going to open up Satoshi's white paper and go through section by section and discuss what did Satoshi say, what ended up getting implemented, and where is this going. And then also we're going to have some lectures on cryptography and some lectures on peer-to-peer networks and so forth. The goal for this class is to kind of spur adoption in the computer science departments of universities so active research can be done, and also to encourage people to begin working on the Bitcoin protocol and actually collaborate with the project. The third course is going to be Bitcoin for business professionals. It's kind of a Bitcoin for entrepreneur course. One of the things I've gotten now that we've had our first course out for about a month, we have 1,800 students so far, is I've gotten a huge amount of feedback from people in the community about they don't understand the regulations, the laws. If their business was to accept Bitcoins, what do they have to worry about? And those are very valid and very good questions, and they should be addressed thoroughly and accurately. And so we're going to launch a third course over the summer, Bitcoin for business professionals, and that course is going to focus on what are the tax laws, what are the regulations. If you're going to use Bitcoins, how do you record them in your books? And also we're going to use that course as an expose for a lot of merchant services that exist for Bitcoin. For example, if you want to accept Bitcoin through BitPay, how do you actually do that? How do you integrate that into your website? So those are the three pieces of content that we intend on producing throughout the summer, and we're going to market it heavily and refine it, update it, and build it in a very collaborative way. And our goal is to use that content to bring 1 million people by the end of 2014 into Bitcoin.
So the education problem is one you're obviously really familiar with. What do you think people have the most trouble grasping?
Terminology is probably the first big issue. People have no idea what a blockchain is or a block. The cryptographic concepts are also very difficult. It really depends upon the particular person, where the person's coming from. So for businesses, really what's vexing them, they really don't have any idea what the laws are with Bitcoin. They don't really have any idea what the regulations are, what forms they have to file, what people they have to talk to, how long they should hold the Bitcoins, where they can liquidate the Bitcoins for US dollars or euros. And actually what makes this problem even more complex is that business is international, and so regulations and laws are different in every single country. So you could be in compliance in America, for example, but then all of a sudden be out of compliance in Europe. And so that's something for the business side that we very commonly get a lot of questions about. For general consumers, a lot of questions usually come of why do they have any value whatsoever? Why does a Bitcoin, why is it worth anything? Which is actually a very good question, and we try to answer it as best we can in our first course, Bitcoin or How We Learned to Stop Worrying and Love Crypto. And we also get a lot of questions about how do I securely use Bitcoin? That's something that people are always concerned about, because we always tell people, hey, these transactions are irreversible. If you're not careful, people can steal your private keys through social engineering or through bugs in software and so forth. So there's a certain degree of competency that you have to have. And it does scare average everyday users. And so that's one of the things that we get often and we try to answer. There is no silver bullet for what people tend to ask. It's kind of a spectrum of questions. And that's why we're releasing a series of 3 classes, because we're trying to cover as broad of a base as possible, because the questions that computer scientists are going to ask are going to be much more sophisticated and in-depth than, let's say, your grandmother would ask about Bitcoin. But they're both equally valid. We need both groups of people in the ecosystem if the ecosystem is going to survive.
Want to set up an online store that accepts Bitcoins? Go to openbitcoinstore.com and you can have a store up and running before the end of this message. Just enter your email address and the store name, and in less than 30 seconds, you'll have a secure WordPress e-commerce site up and running that accepts Bitcoins and pays you in cash within 24 hours. And best of all, it's completely free. Go to openbitcoinstore.com today and open for business now.
Let's Talk Bitcoin is heard each week by thousands of people who are participating in the new digital economy. Our listener base of Bitcoin owners, miners, investors, technologists, and merchants is growing fast. We offer a limited number of short advertising slots in each show to keep our listeners engaged and to provide maximum impact for our sponsors. If you'd like to talk to us about Let's Talk Bitcoin, send us an email at sponsors@letstalkbitcoin.com. It seems like with your annotated Satoshi line that you're not only trying to give the technical background, but also kind of the contextual background to what was being thought at the time that this was being created.
Right, and actually it's a very valid and valuable thing to do from an academic standpoint, because the white paper was really saying these are some problems I would like to resolve, and here is the implementation I have chosen to resolve these problems. And so if you understand it from that lens, you may have certain knowledge domains that would be able to better resolve the problems in the way the protocol has. For a good example would be the proof of work that we currently deploy with Bitcoin. It does resolve 2 big problems. Number 1, how do you verify transactions? And number 2, how do you go ahead and distribute money? The big problem with the proof of work is that while it accomplishes both of those features, the computations are kind of thrown away. They're not socially beneficial in any sense of the way. If one, for example, could find a way to accomplish both things, verify transactions and allow more money to enter the ecosystem in a fair way, but at the same time, let's say maybe integrate folding at home or the SETI project into the proof of work, then all of a sudden you're not only making Bitcoins, but you're also doing something socially beneficial with the mining process. So this is an example of where the annotated Satoshi line can take us. It allows a very diverse group of people from across the academic and professional spectrum to take a look at the protocol, where it stands, what's been done, and what are the problems they're trying to resolve. It gives them the context they need to take their own experiences and their own solutions and their own ideas into the ecosystem. And maybe it'll mean improving the protocol itself, or maybe it will mean the development of alternative currencies that are superior. But that's kind of the hope, is that we want to spur that conversation. We want peer-reviewed research to start being produced in computer science departments that can help us grow Bitcoin to meet the challenges of the future.
Both Andreas and I have gotten involved as fellows who will be giving lectures for the project. How can interested people get involved?
Oh, absolutely. So we're currently looking for 3 groups of help. First, you can volunteer for the project, either your time, market the project, help us with fundraising, or even produce content. The best way of getting in contact with us is my email, charles.hoskinson@gmail.com, or you can go to our website, btcedproject.org. So Barry, Tony, Charlie, Ed, Derek, project.org. And that's a kind of a nice centralized effort where you can see what we're working on and what we're doing, and there are numerous links to contact us there, either securely with PGP or just via email. So if you'd like to volunteer, we'd love to have you, regardless of if you're a newbie or if you're a veteran in the community. The other 2 things you can definitely do to help the project, one would be to donate to the project. We're starting a fundraising campaign, doing things like paying a lawyer to figure out what the regulations are in America, or working with computer scientists to actually go through source code and deal with the protocol, are not free. No matter how many volunteers you get, you have to pay people at some point. So we're starting a donation drive to help cover some of those expenses. And that's going to be 100 Bitcoins in 30 days. So our donation address will be in the show notes, and it's also on our website. So you can definitely donate to the project, and we'd love for you to do that. And finally, the last thing you can do is tell your friends and family. If you like Bitcoin and you want to tell them about Bitcoin, instead of having to sit down and explain it over the kitchen room table, you can now just give them our Udemy link. And if they take our course, we think that it'll really help them get to where they need to go and hopefully evangelize them enough to actually spread the message amongst their friends and family.
Well, thanks very much for doing this important work, Charles, and thanks for your time today.
Thank you so much, Adam.